Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. At this crucial moment for the Warriors, signing a great player of Trey Murphy III's caliber will be essential to putting the team on the path to the playoffs. Trey Murphy III can elevate this team by joining Stephen Curry. Even though it's a high price, it will be worth it to have a better team than the current one, which has several injured players. After the devastating season-ending injury to Jimmy Butler, the Golden State Warriors must pivot, and fast. This year's trade deadline was always circled on the calendar for fans, but now for very different reasons. One move that's made sense all along, and still does in the wake of Butler's injury, is a trade for New Orleans Pelicans wing Trey Murphy III. Murphy is quietly having a breakout year in New Orleans, averaging 22 points and 6 rebounds per game. In January alone, he's putting up 28 points per game and knocking down nearly 5 threes per outing, the most in the NBA this month. Long known as an above-average defender and knockdown shooter, his offensive growth and shot creation this season is hard to ignore. Trey Murphy III would be the perfect fit with the Warriors. The Pelicans, however, are trending in the opposite direction as a team. Tied for the worst record in the NBA at 10-36, New Orleans also doesn't own its own first-round pick this year, a consequence of last year's bizarre draft night trade with Atlanta. With their season already derailed, the Pelicans could look to sell high on the 25-year-old wing while his value peaks. A deal centered around Jonathan Kuminga and draft capital for Trey Murphy III should be a no-brainer for both sides. Golden State's future picks, especially in the post-Curry era, could be incredibly valuable for a Pelicans team that may need to embrace a full rebuild. For someone, understandably, viewed as a shooter, Trey Murphy has produced elite rim efficiency this season. Off the bounce, ferocious dunks, transition buckets, finishes with both hands. Impressive to see how well-rounded his scoring has trended. For the Warriors, Murphy fits both the current moment and the long-term picture. A big wing who defends, shoots at high volume, and thrives in space? That's exactly the archetype Golden State has needed for years, and the open looks generated by Steph Curry would elevate Murphy's efficiency even further, especially compared to his current role on a struggling New Orleans squad. In fact, it's hard to think of a more seamless plug-and-play fit for the Warriors system. Murphy doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. He can sprint the floor in transition, spot up off movement, and stretch defenses in ways Golden State hasn't consistently done this year. His size and length give the Warriors another switchable defender on the wing, and he rebounds well for his position, which is critical for a team that struggles on the glass. The Warriors have long tried to balance building for the future with maximizing what's left of their championship core. But with Curry still playing at an elite level, and Butler sidelined, there's no time for half measures. A player like Trey Murphy could be the perfect swing piece to keep Golden State's season and title hopes alive. The trade, constructed by ESPN NBA insiders, would look like this. Warriors receive Trey Murphy III, Jordan Hawkins. Pelicans receive Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, 2026 first-round pick, via Warriors, 2028 first-round pick, via Warriors, top 10 protected, 2030 first-round pick, via Warriors, if number 5-20. Jazz receive Kevin Looney, 2031 second-round pick, via Raptors, 2032 second-round pick, via Pelicans, cash considerations. The framework sends 3 first-round picks to New Orleans along with Kuminga and Moody. The Warriors would get Murphy and Hawkins in return, while the Utah Jazz would take on Looney's contract and receive 2 second-round picks. Warriors can't allow desperation to lead to Zion Williamson mistake. They can't let one major problem create an even more crushing one. 2026. Technically speaking, a little less than 3 months remain of the Golden State Warriors' 2025-26 NBA season. Effectively speaking, though, the curtains crashed down on their campaign as soon as Jimmy Butler was lost to an ACL tear. The Dubs are drawing dead at this point, particularly if a heartless, business-driven Jimmy Butler trade is truly off the table. The hope, of course, is that some superstar suddenly falls in their laps, but not every available star is worth pursuing. For instance, Yahoo Sports' Tom Haberstroh pitched a proposed deal on the Big Number podcast that would send out Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and a boatload of picks for coveted trade target Trey Murphy III and former Warrior Kevin Looney, but also, and here's the real kicker, Zion Williamson. As desperate as the Butler-less Warriors appear, and are, they can't let themselves reach the maybe we can be the ones to solve Zion's injury issues levels of desperation. A costly gamble on Zion Williamson would almost certainly bust. I wish I could get behind this idea, because Williamson clearly has a ton of offensive talent, and Stephen Curry clearly doesn't have enough offensive talent around him. But this takes tempting fate to an entirely new, disastrously dangerous degree. If you really wanted to, you could stare at Williamson's production, 21.9 points on 58.2% shooting and 3.4 assists, and really want those numbers alongside Curry. Without Butler, Williamson would easily be their second-best scorer and perhaps third-best table setter. But those aren't the numbers that should hold the Warriors' focus. Here's one that should: 244, as in the games Williamson has played since the New Orleans Pelicans made him the first pick of the 2019 draft. If that sounds like a big number, it shouldn't. Because New Orleans has played 518 games over this stretch, meaning Williamson has suited up in just 47.1% of them. Relationship gets clarified amid growing speculation. The dynamic between Jonathan Kuminga and Steve Kerr has stayed under a microscope in Golden State. As the Golden State Warriors chase consistency, Kerr has called the situation unique, downplaying the spotlight while stressing team unity and reminding critics that Kuminga remains one of 15 players amid ongoing rotation chaos. Those questions were addressed publicly this week by Sam Amick on Run It Back. Amick said he spoke directly with both Kerr and Kuminga, clarifying their working relationship amid speculation surrounding the young forward's future. They make it work. Do I think they hate each other? No, but they don't like each other's style. Amick explained the tension stems from Kerr's system-first approach and Kuminga's aggressive play, not personal conflict, while noting contract factors also shape the situation. The clarification helped calm talk of a breakdown. Kerr denied any rift on January 16, stressing internal communication. Still, Kuminga's $22.5 million salary and Kerr's expiring deal have added pressure as the Warriors try to balance development with immediate playoff needs. Steve Kerr makes feelings clear on Jonathan Kuminga's role. Kuminga's on-court responsibilities became more evident after his return to the game against the Toronto Raptors. He scored 20 points in 21 minutes off the bench, showing his energy throughout the game despite their defeat, which revealed their defensive weaknesses. Kerr expressed his approval of Kuminga's preparedness after the game, according to NBC Sports Bay Area. The performance mattered with Jimmy Butler sidelined, creating a clear opening at forward during a demanding stretch. With the trade deadline approaching and reports from Mark J. Spears noting league interest, the Warriors face choices. For now, Kerr and Kuminga continue working together, knowing adaptability from both sides could define Golden State's playoff push. Insider confirms Warriors' Jimmy Butler future plan amid Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors. Jimmy Butler had lost his joy of playing basketball at Miami Heat last season. But when he moved to the Golden State Warriors last February, both his joy and smile returned. In the first instance, he made it clear that he belonged to the Bay. However, voices in the NBA believe that the front office might trade him following the ACL injury last Monday. Well, those rumors are false. The Warriors' belief in the 36-year-old's impact and chemistry with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green is likely going to play a major role in keeping him on the roster despite the injury. Since he arrived, the Dubs have owned a 46-22 record. Moreover, NBA insider Kyle Haar recently clarified the Warriors' vision with Butler for next season. On the Just Dubs podcast, the insider revealed, the Warriors, when Jimmy does return next season, if they decide to keep him, they're not going to play him on back-to-backs. He's going to have a minute restriction to start when he does come back. Usually, the teams put players who return from major injuries on restricted minutes for the first few games. In fact, such players also get to sit out during back-to-backs and also find off days for injury management. The Golden State Warriors have been following these precautionary measures with DeAnthony Melton since his comeback in December 2025, after his season-ending ACL injury in 2024. Experts of the game, however, see the Dubs trading Butler just the way they did with Melton last season. They sent him to the Brooklyn Nets after his ACL injury, using his expiring contract to acquire Dennis Schroeder. Although Schroeder later became a key salary piece in acquiring Jimmy at the Bay. Meanwhile, the Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. also clarified, "My vision for him is to give us a boost next year, the same way he did last year when he arrived." In simple terms, the general manager does not see himself trading Jimmy Butler. However, if an enticing deal like maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo comes up, then the Warriors might consider trading Jimmy Butler for Giannis Antetokounmpo. At age 36, Butler remained highly efficient before going down. In January, he delivered 21.3 points per night while converting 53% of his shots, then added 17 points in only 21 minutes against Miami prior to the ACL injury. Still, Golden State treats its value as established. Therefore, moving him now would scrap a blueprint the front office believes had momentum toward contention. Recent rumors suggested the front office explored Anthony Davis, with trade talks built around Jimmy as the centerpiece. However, insider John Dickinson confirmed the Dubs, "I think basically what they're saying is, we're not going to trade you for Anthony Davis in the next 10 days, and then watch Anthony Davis not play until the middle of March, and then figure it out." Following his hand ligament injury, the Dallas Mavericks have sidelined AD for 6 weeks. Meanwhile, the Warriors, who have seemingly shown interest in Milwaukee's Giannis Antetokounmpo, is out of the league for at least a month with a right calf strain. So, Dickinson added, "To me, what they're saying is, if we can get Giannis, we'll consider it, but if we can't get Giannis, then we're not going to consider it at this point." However, Butler's contract complicates the calculus. The 36-year-old will earn nearly $57 million next season, placing his deal among the league's heaviest financial commitments and forcing the front office into a far tougher endgame decision. But then, for an endgame to happen, the Golden State Warriors have to express their intention. And that, for now, is simple: they want Jimmy Butler. They need Jimmy Butler with Stephen Curry to push for another title if that's even possible.